listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. Now, the largest new media platform on the web and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keetin.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Once Upon a Time in Wonderland After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Once Upon a Time in Wonderland After Show.
Hi, Bing is for doing, and we are here doing another Once Upon a Time in Wonderland after show. This is episode 4, The Serpent. I am your host, Jacque Borowski, and with me is Tiona Hobson.
Hello, everyone.
And Keetin, I already forgot your last name.
Marky Mark.
Marky Mark. Keetin Marchi Mark. And Marisa Serafini is engineering this show.
Hello, everyone.
Every time this song plays, for some reason, I think it's going to be You Can't Always Get What You Want because of the choir sound. And then I'm like, oh, no, that's not it.
I always think it's going to be like a song from like the Harry Potter movies. Like
That's
the
what I
frog
think of,
chorus.
the frog chorus.
Yeah.
That's what I think of.
Oh.
I think of little
Nice.
British
Double,
kids,
toil and
you know,
trouble. Fire,
singing
burn, and
the
cauldron
song.
bubble, guys.
Awesome.
I also have to point out that their notes, Keetin and Tiana's, are much more organized than mine because they're typed up. I thought I was super nerdy, and apparently I'm not nerdy enough.
Did you rewrite your notes after you watched the show?
No.
Okay.
They're as the show is happening notes.
I would have been like really nerdy.
No, because the notes I write as the show is happening, they always have like funny, stupid stuff that I write. Today I can't find any though, so unfortunately. So Agrabah. Agrabah. We start in Agrabah some time ago, where Jafar is some sort of laboring child.
I thought it
and
was Aladdin.
I
wrote, is little boy Aladdin?
Right? I want them to bring in Aladdin because now we know that Jafar was like a poor street urchin just like Aladdin.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I really want to know what that backstory is to see like how, to see how they're similar and to see if they do something like they did with other ones, like they made Peter Pan a villain. So what if they made Aladdin a villain?
Well, I mean, Jafar, we also found out that he was the bastard son of the Sultan.
Yes.
So could he potentially be Jasmine's half-brother?
Yes.
I don't know.
I know. That is very interesting. I hope they bring in those characters, and they're just bringing in characters that we don't know, which is also interesting. So he's laboring, and this witch gypsy woman, I'm not sure. Amara. She comes up, and everybody basically hides their head in total and utter fear, and he stares at her, and his slave driver, I'm not really sure what to call that man, was his stepdad and
his guardian.
I
don't know. I feel like he was a street urchin, so he was kind of just a what's it called, an orphan of the street. So I think he was just
boss,
the guy who was helping him out at that moment.
That scene reminded me so much of Star Wars Episode 1 when Anakin, little Anakin has like his little slave driver.
Yeah,
correct. With water.
Water. And he's like yelling at Anakin. That literally, I was like, wow, really lots of Star Wars references
I know.
here.
And even I just realized in the last episode, like even aside from the reference to that, what's that thing called again in Star Wars? That thing that eats things.
Oh, Sarlacc pit.
Sarlacc pit. That thing that eats things.
Sarlacc pit.
Sarlacc pit.
There were fans that mentioned that the like bad guy hangout place looks a lot like the cantina in Star Wars.
Yeah,
and I was
with
the caterpillar being Jabba, and I'm like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, so true.
Yep.
So true.
I absolutely agree.
Anyway,
I
loving
wonder if Boba Fett's gonna come in and
I
then
know,
die.
loving the Star Wars.
But Boba Fett died in
the
Sarlacc
Scarlet,
pit.
yeah. So that's what I'm wondering. Boba
maybe.
Fett.
They can still bring him back.
That
it's
is
okay.
true. I'm not against that.
So then young Jafar goes to Amara and basically says, I want to be your protege. And she kind of like gets bitchy on him. And then she's like, yeah, okay.
But like their relationship was weird, right?
Yes.
I
Okay.
wasn't the only one who was creeped out.
Let's begin
by their
with the fact that he
relationship.
starts off as a 14-year-old, and then she must not age. She has like
Yeah,
magical
some sort
powers.
of power that she
magical
wasn't aging
power
at all.
that she doesn't age at all. And then he gets old, and then
He's like a 30-year-old man, and
Yeah.
he raised her. And,
She-
no, and she
kinda-
raised him.
yeah, and now they're
they're
lovers.
Yeah, it's wrote. I literally wrote, relationship between Jar and Serpent Lady, so weird.
I mean, and here's the thing too. I was watching it, and to me, like, because most of our characters in this are separated from their love in some sort of way.
Mhm.
Like Will's separated from his past love, Anastasia, and Alice is separated from Cyrus. So we don't really see any real on-screen romance. This is the first. Well, I guess we saw them in flashbacks, but to me, this is I can't justify that.
It's a flashback too.
Because it's a flashback too. But I mean, to me, this was one of the most powerful relationships.
Well, and how much hotter is
Yeah.
Jafar with his new hairdo, guys?
So much.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean,
damn.
technically, it's his old hairdo
But
that
he
he
had
brought
it.
back.
Yeah.
So I mean, he went through a phase in his teenage years where he was like rocking the Farrah Fawcett blowout.
he went through
And then he went through a Prince Jerry curl
Yes,
phase,
yeah.
and now he's back to the blowout.
Yes.
And I'm a fan of the blowout. I'm not a fan of that Jerry curl.
I love the blowout.
thing, yeah.
I
He
think it
seems-
looks great on him.
His kind of goatee seems a little more. out
They
of
fixed
kept.
a lot of things.
He
They
looks
did,
good this episode,
Did
guys.
is it just me, or did his I don't know what you call it, his collar? I
Mhm.
guess it's really big to be a collar, but his collar just got larger and encased his head, much like it looks like on the actual movie.
Yeah, it did.
And so I liked all the changes to Jafar. Jafar's looking hot, and that relationship, I think the word I was looking for was steamy. Because the past,
Yeah.
when you look into the past of the other two relationships, those are very like, they're
Fresh. Their new
They're
relationships.
more like young
puppy
love. Yeah,
Yeah.
young love. And this was kind of like
Just sex.
nasty, kinky, sexy relationship, and I was like, woo.
Yeah, all the other ones
Whoa.
are innocent and pure, and this one just seems kind of like muddled in filth and hotness and.
But he
Sorry,
was
my cell
a
phone's going off.
child. He was a
I
child.
Yeah, but I mean, he grew up. You know,
If
he
you
started as
eliminate-
a child and then he grew up. I mean,
But at what point did the sex
like
start
at
happening?
one point,
Yeah.
Justin Bieber was young, and then he turned 18, and then people were like, "Okay, it's okay for me to like him now." You know,
That's okay.
And I wasn't one.
Are you trying to tell us something?
Weird, terrible beginnings to this relationship aside, though, I want to see more of it because I was like, this is really steamy and interesting and kind of soapy, and I love it. And so I was really mad that we'll talk about it more later, but skip a few scenes, and she's turned into a piece of jewelry, basically.
Snake staff.
Yeah.
Staff. Which, did any of you see that? Because I kind of got that once she mentioned that, having snakes in her life.
Once
all that
she-
snake
I got it when
memorabilia.
she drank the poison. I
Then-
was like,
Yeah, and then
she's
my
a
mind
goner.
just went to Jafar's staff because we know that's a snake. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just made that
I
connection.
just took it
there.
That's
as
awesome.
clearly she had a big influence, and the snakes are important to him too. And then I thought of that staff, and I thought of my fear of snakes, and I was like, I don't want to see a snake, and then I saw a snake, and it was just all bad. But I liked how they used it. How he said to her, you're still gonna be with me. We are still gonna do this together. I'm gonna use your power and mine combined, and made a nice little staff out of her.
I don't know. It reminded me of. This is such a random reference that it reminded me of, but it reminded me of the Prince of Egypt. 'Cause
Oh, yeah. I thought that
Moses
too.
throws in the Old Testament. Moses throws down his staff and turns it into a
Turns it into
snake.
the snake.
And
Tells the Pharaoh.
tells the Pharaoh, "Let my people go." Anyways,
No, I totally got that reference too.
I was
thought-
like watching. I was
and
like,
then like
oh.
the two men of
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Pharaohs, they turned theirs into staffs. Yeah,
Yep.
I love that.
That's
It is kind of a biblical reference from the beginning, though, because snakes in the Bible represent Satan.
Evil.
They're like
Yeah.
evil. And so it makes sense when the scene you have your most evil character kind of being seduced by a snake-like character and snakes.
But speaking of like Jafar being the most evil character, I mean, throughout this entire series so far, he has been ruthless. Like,
Yeah.
there's one thing you can count on in every episode is that Jafar just doesn't care.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting that we kind of saw a lighter side of him and a side of him, kind of an understanding now of why he is so cutthroat in the way he is. Just, I think it's a survival instinct.
Oh, yeah,
because that was
totally.
the one thing that kind
You
of
see that-
made him happy.
Yeah, you see his innocence is taken away from him because, you know, he's thrown out by his father. He's living on the streets alone, and he has nowhere else to go but to this woman who's going to take him in and kind of build him up in this evil protege way. So you see, getting to see the other side of him helps understand him more. And so now I just need Alice to figure out, you know, that he does have a weakness too.
Yeah, and how Regina-like was this kind of
thought so,
backstory.
too.
I mean, the idea of wanting to learn magic kind of for revenge, you know, having that one point where he had to choose either to let the man die and not give him the antidote or to, you know, have a liver so he could, like, learn this new spell. It felt so Regina-like. And a little bit of him reminded me of Rumpelstiltskin as well, but it was so Regina.
Once does this all across the board, which is it tries to give, and rightfully so, it tries to give its bad characters a backstory that people can understand. Because you don't want to keep, nowadays, we don't want to keep watching a show where a character is just bad outright and you don't see where they're coming from. Because then you're just like, okay, defeat that character already and get rid of them. We love characters we love to hate. And so now that he has this interesting background where you're like, okay, I see where he's coming from, then it's more like, well, we'd like to see Jafar stick around for longer. We don't want her to get rid of him so quickly because he's so interesting.
I mean, I agree. I like Jafar, and
I like
now I
Jafar.
think he's hot. So
Yeah.
now I really like Jafar.
Jafar, your blowout does you wonders.
And we also see why Jafar is so after Alice now. And it explains his backstory, why he's so interested in the lamps and the genies.
Well, the genies, there is it's a book on all the worlds and the wisdom of genies. So it's the book of genies and other important things. And
Genies, the book of Genesis, the book of
I kept thinking like Book
Eli.
of Shadows.
Yeah, book of everything.
I want to know what else is in this book. Is this the same book that they found the Swarlack, what is that thing? Sarlacc in? Is this the same book?
It looks
I thought
like
that was her book. that
Are
she
there
was looking
multiple
through.
books with like evil things in it? I want to know.
You know, there's volume 1 and volume 2.
Volume 1, Creatures for Torture. Volume 2, Genies and Other Important Evil Things. Or not
But
genies
are
evil,
genies evil?
but they're not evil.
Yeah. So
But did we find out exactly what he wants to do? Because I know they said they'd have enough power to change the laws of magic, but I wasn't
they
sure if I
need-
missed something else with
No, it's to-
specifically what
They need
his...
3 genies.
3
Yeah, they
genies
need
to
the
allow
3
to cast a certain spell.
Yeah, but they didn't tell us
Yeah,
what
not the
exactly.
spell.
do you know what I thought was interesting though? Like, cause no, they didn't tell us yet what
Okay.
exactly the spell is. But before we saw that final scene where Jafar turns Amara into his staff, it kind of felt like this was almost a quest of love for him, rather than a quest for like just kind of power. It felt like this was something he so determined to finish because he started it with her. And like that's why it's so important to him.
Before he turned her into the snake staff, I thought that, you know, they were like, okay, the lamp is somewhere here in Agrabah, so I thought that's when they were going to introduce Aladdin, and Aladdin had it, and maybe Aladdin was the reason why she wasn't around anymore. You know, maybe Aladdin had killed her, and so he was trying to finish this and like for her honor. But then he did
That's
it
exactly
to
what
her,
I
so I was
thought.
like, wait.
Here's
That
what I
doesn't
think
make
about.
sense.
Literally exactly what I thought. I'm like so glad.
If you think of like classic psychotic minds or classic stories about people with very, very unhealthy obsessions, from the moment he saw her, he was obsessed with her. He literally, everybody turned away and he could not. So he was so obsessed with her, he followed her to her place and he said he wants to learn everything from her. And so he spends, when you're looking in these flashbacks, he spends all of his time being, I mean, I don't even want to say love. It's like an obsession, because then he wants to literally like own her and wear her at the end, when you think about it, because the staff is a piece of his clothing. So he just wants to devour her almost. He wants to be her.
I hadn't thought about it like that.
Me neither.
Now he sounds like a psychopath.
I mean, he is.
Yeah,
like
he is, but now he really sounds like it when you break it down like that.
I mean, he's not a good guy. He turns people into objects, and he kills people willy-nilly. He went into that one room and wasted an entire room of people. He's not a good guy, and he probably has a lot of issues.
And I loved the scene when he went into the bar and that guy to get the one genie lamp, and he's like threatening the bartender, and the bartender very quickly makes his last wish of, I wish that you can't hurt me at all. And as he walks out of the room, so the guy kind of like calls back at him and really hits him in kind of the spot where it hurts, where he kind of is like basically calls him out for being the Sultan's bastard. So obviously it's not a secret.
Right.
The town people know, and they know also who he is, like as an adult as well as when he was a child. So
There's also probably another motivation why he acts the way he does. He's powerful and intimidating, only just to gain the respect so people won't have to deal with him.
Definitely.
Well, and then Amara comes. He's like, I can't hurt you, but she can. And she comes in. And
That was great. This episode got really violent.
It did.
Especially with Jafar. He got really gruesome.
Yeah, this is definitely a lot darker. Our characters have a lot darker edges to them than regular ones.
And I still don't feel like, I know I'm bringing up Once Upon a Time again, but I still feel like it's so much darker than that show.
Yeah.
Because that show has kind of Mary Margaret, charming, who are always this kind of like bubble, like it's always like fairy tale, like lightness is in the air.
And even Emma would never punch someone in the face.
Oh,
It's
she
like,
does.
I mean,
Emma would punch
Emma
somebody
would
in
throw
the face.
down.
yeah,
but
past seasons of Once Upon a Time have been lighthearted, but this season has been a lot darker, and you haven't had those happy-go-lucky Mary Margaret, David moments, and you do have Emma in there fighting, and
But
I
like,
mean, but in the middle of it all, they do have the love story, and there's always people are always together. Other people might be separated from their loves, but there always is one kind of couple that's together.
Yeah.
So you get that balance in this. Is that in that one compared to this one?
Yeah,
But I think that Once Upon a Time is just as dark as this. I mean, they have kids
They have-
fighting with each other now. It's like Lord of the Flies over there.
They have darker elements in
and
that
it's like,
show.
what are the flies?
But
Hunger Games.
it really is.
It is.
It really is. But that show has darker elements, but they always somehow bring it back to a more positive way.
Yeah.
This one just kind of went dark.
I feel like this show is all like the Regina is somewhat forgiving, and Pan, because he is a child, you still kind of are like, oh, he's a kid, so you don't really like, you're not too terrified of him, because I know we keep asking ourselves, why are people so scared of him? Why are people so scared of him? But I feel like Jafar, I'm terrified of Jafar. Like, Jafar doesn't give a crap.
Nope.
I don't know. I saw him. I mean, he could have he told Alice. I mean, I'm sorry, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but he did tell Alice towards the end. You know, when he had her in that stretch Armstrong stretch going on thing, he didn't need her in one piece, and then he stopped. So I kind of took that as like, you know, he does have boundaries that he's kind of gonna
Well,
go
If he
for.
ripped
I
her
mean, we
apart,
could
he
get
would have
into
killed her.
yeah, I
I
think
mean,
that
he could have broke a leg or something still, but he just flat out
But-
stopped.
No, I think it was just Jafar realizing he can't kill her.
Yeah.
And because you did make the point, like, you
think
need
so,
me to
too.
make the wishes.
Yeah.
And that's why he backed off.
So as far as the wishes go, we now see why he's so eager to have Alice expend the wishes. It has nothing to do with like I really didn't know what the point, like I really didn't understand until this point why he was so eager to have her use the wishes, and I thought it was just to betray Cyrus or whatever. But now I see that he wants her to use the wishes because then he can be the owner of the genie once she's done with her wishes.
Yeah.
But this is what I want to know. I want to know if you use your 3 wishes and say she gave it to the Knave, then the Knave had 3 wishes, and that the Knave used his 3 wishes, if she could have it back. So then she
I don't
gets 6
know.
wishes. Can they play the system?
Is there a way to
Could
get
they work
around
it?
this whole wish
That's a
thing?
good question. That's a good question. So, the end of his relationship with Amara, which, oh, by the way, the actress who plays Amara is amazing.
Awesome.
And it really, really, really made me angry in this episode that she was turned into a serpent staff. And you know, by looking at the eyes in the serpent staff, you're like, she's got to come back because she's still alive in there.
Oh,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
we saw the blinking.
I know. And I'm like, I really loved that actress. And I really, really, really would love to see
She's
her back.
so
I hope
pretty.
she comes back.
She was not only, but it's like, you can, pretty actors here in Hollywood are a dime a dozen, but she's just good. She's just good at being bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was really good.
Without even doing much.
Yeah.
It was just like a look with her.
Yeah.
And her costumes were beautiful. I love that we're kind of seeing a new style with seeing more of Agrabah and kind of like,
love
you know,
Agrabah.
the style that comes along with Agrabah is more like Middle Eastern and beautiful and flowy. And I loved all of her dresses, and I even like Jafar's costumes from in the flashbacks were really, really pretty.
This episode was, it seemed like all of a sudden in this episode they got a bigger budget or something because Jafar got his blowout. They must have hired a new hair person, we were saying before this. And then the queen's dresses were better. Like I don't know,
And
they seemed so juvenile before, and now they're like real, very adult, beautiful pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
costumes.
even going down to the costumes, but even the locations, it wasn't all green screen. too.
Right.
They were in an actual
Exactly.
forest. I'm like, wow, that kind of looks like Enchanted Forest. But hey, if be resourceful, sure.
Right.
Reuse your
They
set.
had
Save your
actual
money.
locations. That was
Oh,
exciting.
and the actress who played Amara was Zuleika Robinson. Awesome. We hope to see her back.
I read somewhere that she was on Lost. I don't watch Lost, so I don't know, but I guess she was. She was fabulous. I really want to see her back. So in today time, real time, Alice and the Knave are running from the Caterpillar's people who are mad that they destroyed the Forget-Me-Not. So the Knave creates some sort of diversion and gets captured by the Queen because, skip a few scenes earlier, the Queen, Jafar basically calls the Queen out, and he realizes that the Queen knows the Knave and probably knows that she dated him. I mean, he's got like that evil genius knowing everything.
Well,
kind of
that's her
thing.
weakness. Her weakness, like, is love. And she is obviously still in love with him, but she's too power hungry to act on that love. But we saw it when she captures him, and then like basically Jafar challenges her, why isn't he dead? Why isn't he dead?
Right.
And she goes to him and it's like, hey, the White Rabbit's gonna come to you. Leave with him. Leave with him. And he kind of calls her bluff. And it's like,
He's
no.
trying to call her bluff too because now watching this, I still don't, she's trying to save him, but you still don't believe that it's not a character like Alice where ultimate love is going to rule. Like she's not, her power, she's so power hungry that you feel like, yeah, she still has feelings for him and she's going to go to bat for him, but she's not going to lose her pride in doing it. And she's not going to lose her power in doing it.
She's not going to speak out when he
if
needs
those
help.
if those two things come to the table, they're going to win. And so he basically is probably calling her out to see if she still has feelings for him, because he's like, if I go out there and you won't kill me, you won't kill me. Like I still feel that you have those feelings, but she doesn't go to bat for him. Like he goes out there and she doesn't do anything about it.
I think the reason she talks that big game, but ultimately she's afraid of Jafar, like everyone, as one should be. So ultimately, it's her fear of Jafar that stops her from speaking out. Even though she told Jafar, don't underestimate me. I'm just as powerful, and I can do all these things. But when it really came down to it, like she was scared of him and didn't say anything. And
we know she stole. Do we know she stole her crown up until this point, or?
Well, he did say.
'Cause he mentions it now, but did we know before now?
I think we had assumed before this that.
We have not heard anything of her backstory beside that flashback she did with the Knave, and that
I don't exactly know how she stole it, but
because my thought is, if you're someone who's got enough balls to steal a crown of an entire magical kingdom that you don't belong to, you would think you would have a little more oomph to stand up to Jafar.
Well, and do you know what I thought was interesting that we saw this episode is that she used magic.
Yes.
We have never seen her use magic before. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
it was
I don't
nothing
think so.
huge, It wasn't like a Jafar style magic, but it was a little kind of flick of the hand, and I can't remember exactly what happened.
Didn't she stop Alice from punching her again?
Yeah.
She stopped
like,
Alice from punching her again.
Which, that was awesome.
That was freaking awesome. We have the kind of heroine who is just like, I love how Alice can be like so virtuous, but then she's like, no, I'm sorry. You've gone too far. I'm just going to punch you.
But, so, obviously, she can do something to Jafar. I don't know. I'm curious now, not only how she became Red Queen, but how she got magic.
Yeah.
Because I don't think she had magic when she was with the Knave.
No.
And, in the last episode when her and Will are jumping through, she says, a place where you use your imagination to get whatever you want. Or something along those lines. She didn't say to get whatever you want, but it was the use of imagination can help you be whatever you want to be. Right. So I think maybe that has a little bit to do with it too. But then in that case, why isn't everyone just imagining, they're the queen of everywhere,
I'm the queen of Sheba. Poof. That's what's so interesting about Wonderland. I feel like there's still so much about it that we don't understand and don't know. And they're focusing so much on the characters that we aren't getting much information about the land or the realm.
We saw a whole town of people today. And, we've seen those underground guys.
A town of very shitty people. I'm sorry.
Very
Excuse
crappy
me.
Yeah, no, they were.
I thought Wonderland people were going to be all, like, fun and, like, no
First
war,
off,
peace, not war.
The fact that they were all rooting for the Red Queen, and I'm just like, wow, we just see the whole Once Upon a Time Wonderland staff, right? All right there. But it makes me question, like, really, where are their loyalties? Are they really rooting for the Red Queen because they're under her power and they better, like, kiss up to her? Or
it made me honestly think of the Hunger Games, that whole scene of the public execution.
Yes,
it seemed like she was almost in like a President Snow type thing, and she was using obviously fear and like turning it into sport to kind of make them excited and make them like interested and respect her.
I don't think so. I disagree, and here's why. Because in the crowd scene where Alice tries to go and see the poster information on Will, the crowd won't let her by, and she basically has to threaten to like take out her sword.
I have
and
a
kill
blade.
people. Yeah, like you're just talking about a bunch of unruly people in general, because it's like the queen isn't even there, and they're like, nope, we're not gonna move. We're just jerks.
I took them kind of watching it for sport, kind of like back in the jousting or like Spartacus. They used to watch people battle. Gladiators battle to the death in pits, and people were rooting and cheering for that. Just because they didn't know any better.
Right.
Well, not that they didn't know any better, but just because that was what was socially acceptable at that time. Well, and I feel like in Wonderland, this is something that maybe is more like socially acceptable. And so it's something that they are excited about. And maybe they haven't had one in a while. So it's like, yeah. And it's the Knave of Hearts, whose photo has been plastered around Wonderland for who knows how long, with a huge bounty on his head.
I think that's why I think of Hunger Games, because it's like those people in the Capitol are so naive that they don't understand that like the fact that you're having children fight to the death is wrong.
Yeah.
And so these people don't understand. It's like, I don't know if the queen is like keeping like they just don't get it. They
like I understand that. I just don't think that the queen has anything to do with their mentality. Like I don't think she has them under some sort of spell or anything to get them to root for it. Yeah. I think it's just them.
The queen was playing it up that, this is an execution you should be excited for, because Jafar realized that she has feelings for the Knave, and so she was exploiting the Knave's execution to be like, no, I really do want him dead, when secretly she doesn't. So she was just playing it up, being like, everyone should be excited. I'm excited that we're killing the Knave, but she really doesn't.
So the person that really saves the Knave is Alice. She dresses up like the executioner, or
you knew that was gonna happen.
I know, and you knew it was gonna happen, but you're kind of like, my wonder is, I really wanted to see the scene where Alice goes backstage and like bonks the real executioner on the head and then like takes their clothes. That's the missing scene that I wanted to see, but whatever. So she goes up there and she basically cuts his bindings, his rope or whatever's holding him down, and lets him free, and they run off and are
Into the catapult.
Catapult
they
themselves.
There's
catapult
no
themselves.
way that catapult, if it's just shooting a
know.
watermelon, that it could shoot 2 people
I was
over that
like,
wall.
The physics of that was not
No,
right.
I
They
was-
did not
I'm
have
so-
the weight.
Did you
proper
see
weight
Robin Hood, Prince of
distribution.
Thieves?
That's what I was thinking of. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. It happened there. It could
Happened on Robin Hood,
happen.
Prince
True.
of Thieves.
I mean,
If
I'm
Kevin
with you.
Costner can do
I'm
it.
with you.
I know.
I'm with
I know.
you.
I thought the
I-
exact same thing. I was like, all right, you have 2 people who are probably 150 pounds on average getting flung by this catapult that just, okay, yeah, that wasn't believable.
think
but
two
this is
people
once
do
upon
it
a
on
time in
Robin Hood, Prince
Wonderland.
of
Yeah, it's 2 people. I mean, the landing in real life would not be pretty, but hey.
Can I have a tangent really quick? Can we talk about the David Bowie inspired makeup of the Queen's assistants?
Yes, what was that? That was so funny.
It was like David Bowie. I was like, this is crazy. Like, really? Like, it's like Kesha David Bowie makeup. Like, what are you doing? And then we find out that one of those manservants is actually a spy for Jafar, and that's how
Yeah.
he's getting all of his information
It's
from
Tweedledee and Tweedledum. That's how I'm assuming that's who they are
The
because
two
they
of 'em.
mentioned it. Didn't they mention it?
Yeah, someone said something
Yeah.
about
Like Tweedle?
Twiddle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
that-
Tweedledee
It
and
was
Tweedledum.
Lizard mentioned that she had a run-in with Twiddle.
Yeah,
Tweedle?
with
Yeah, so that's
the
Tweedledee and
tweeds.
Tweedledum with David Bowie Ziggy Stardust makeup. Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what I thought of. And they have blonde hair. And I'm just waiting for them to do a performance. Anyway, so yes, they are spies for Jafar. So we know that the walls have ears, literally.
Jafar is everywhere.
He is everywhere. And the queen
Why
is
his
kind
hair is so big? It's full of secrets.
Yes.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
I can't.
The queen is everywhere too, though. I mean, she
Yeah.
probably uses the spies for the same reason. They're probably just lining their pockets with more makeup money.
Okay, so this is something that I thought about when they were last episode. I know I wasn't here. I'm sorry. But when they were off to see the forget-me-nots. That's when I remembered that in the cartoon version of Alice, you know, like the flowers and everyone talk and,
Yeah.
you know, can communicate. So I was just wondering, like, when Jafar and the Queen were kind of going to use those aspects to spy, because at the time, you know, they didn't really have eyes and ears on Alice. And, I mean, Jafar at that point didn't even know that she was traveling with the guy. So I was like, why aren't they using the flowers? The flowers can talk, but that was just my
Because they
little
haven't
tangent.
built that set yet, and it has not been on Once Upon a Time, and they haven't gotten the animation made yet for
Yeah.
the green screen.
True.
But I would love to see
Yeah,
talking
it was,
flowers.
would be
yeah,
great.
just that popped in my mind. I was like, Alice in Wonderland, talking flowers. It has to happen.
You know what? I would like to see flying bread, like butterflies.
Yes.
But we're still waiting.
I want the Cheshire Cat to come back. That thing was
Oh, yeah,
scary.
That was
Scary.
cool.
and but in like a cool way.
Yeah.
And she turned into a little kitty.
There's a lot of
Kitty cat.
there's a lot of interesting things that they could do, and now they're bringing in characters I've never heard of. But anyway, so moving on, they are trapped when they leave by Jafar and the Queen, and Jafar basically is going to kill the Knave, and Alice uses her last wish to save him, or not her last wish, her first wish to save him, saying, if I die, the Knave dies. So she's tied
If the knave
herself.
dies, she dies.
Yeah. So the other way. Yeah. So she ties herself to him, and now Jafar, because he wants to be able to use those wishes, he can't kill her, so he can't kill the Knave now. So he turns one of the most interesting characters on Once Upon a Time in Wonderland into a stone piece.
So let's
Gotcha.
let's rewind for a second. Alice binding herself with the Knave. Even if all of Wonderland didn't want him dead already, that's still just not a smart idea, because even if you get out of this whole situation and defeat Jafar and get to save your wishes and you never have to use them, the Knave is then going to go off and do his own thing, and he has a penchant for finding trouble. So at any point, he could get into a duel in a bar with someone who he owes money to and drop dead, and then there you are with Cyrus happily ever after, and then kaput, you die too.
Which brings me to my original shipping of Alice and the Knave. And I know that, you know, she loves Cyrus, yada, yada, yada. I still think that there is some part of her that has enough feelings for him that in that moment she doesn't think clearly, and the only thing she thinks of is wanting to save him. And that's not something you just do for your buddy old pal.
Yeah, getting her to use a wish is
It's a big deal.
pretty big deal.
And
Because
she-
she's not using a wish to just wish for Cyrus back because
And I'm pretty
there's
sure-
too many technicalities with it and stuff.
And I'm pretty sure he's not putting his life on the line for her all the time either, just because he thinks she's a cool girl to hang out with.
And I'm pretty sure she'd be better off without him.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree.
Well, I think
Sometimes.
the Knave is definitely more interesting whenever
Yes.
he's with Alice. But the thing is there anything in Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, the Wonderland area, that could help turn the Knave back? Because we know in Once Upon a Time we have like Nostos, who has restorative powers, and it turned Frederick back into a human. But is there anything in Wonderland that could turn
True Love's Kiss,
Stone back into?
which is from Once Upon a Time as well. But
Yeah.
all fairy tales end with True Love's
Kiss.
Kiss. That's the only thing I can think of right now.
Get on it,
That
Anastasia!
might help. I mean,
I really think it would be Alice, because Anastasia was ready to she was not, even when he was being turned to stone, she didn't do anything.
But
Well-
you could see it on her, kind of see it on her face, because you can't see much on her face. But I love her face.
Oh, so much
well,
fun.
what about Lizard?
It doesn't, we're going to
Maybe
get
it's-
to that. We're going to get to
Maybe
that.
it's Lizard.
It's
I
not
don't
Lizard.
know.
No.
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 We'll get to that, though.
But and you know, technically Alice only has one wish left now because technically she agreed to give one of those wishes to Will. So
Yeah.
even though Jafar says it's two, technically Homegirl's
Well, Will
down
can't
to
do anything. He's a
one.
freaking stone.
What do you think what if she thinks she's like, technically that was my one wish for you, I saved your life.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. That was your wish.
I still think that, or what was I going to say? Oh, I don't think that the queen, like, even if she was feeling feelings for him as that happened, she didn't do anything. It's
Yeah.
the thing about inaction. It's like, you don't love that person enough to stop what is going on. You don't love that person enough that even if, like, when he challenged her, even if he was going to stay there and let himself be harmed, if it was Alice in that same situation, she would have been like, you don't get any sort of thought in the matter. I'm just sending the rabbit, and he's going to kidnap you and put you in a bag.
Yeah. I mean, Will, even in that moment, you know, he called out to Anastasia. She did nothing. Alice called out to Anastasia. She did nothing. You know, it wasn't until I think Alice kind of was waiting to see who was going to break first, and because the queen didn't actually break, I don't know what that's going to mean.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that Will's going to want her back after that, you know?
And that was the moment she also learned that the Red Queen is Anastasia, which also probably leaves Alice feeling a little betrayed, because there is something that he knew that she didn't, and she's now probably wondering exactly. I mean, she knows him well enough, it seems like, to trust him blindly, but she's got to be second guessing. Okay, he didn't tell me this for a reason. Why didn't he tell me this? And why didn't I know about this connection?
Well, do you know what was also interesting is that the queen even called Alice his little girlfriend. Like, she's very jealous of Alice.
Yeah.
So maybe he's just trying to keep them separate, not knowing about each other. It does bring up the love thing again. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Because, and I think when he wakes up, and he's going to have second thoughts about Anastasia, and he's going to be like, oh, Alice saved my life, and that might make it blossom. I can't believe I'm saying that because I don't want it to happen, but it might.
I think I'm right on there with you. I actually really, really agree with that. So let's talk about now this extra random triangle piece that they threw in, which is Elizabeth Lizard, the terrible actress / thief.
Okay, did anyone think, like, right when from the get-go, when they introduced her, she says, my name is Miss Elizabeth, and then my mind just immediately went to Miss Elizabeth Swan.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, what if she was related to Emma? And I'm like, that'd be interesting. I don't know.
We're all obsessed with pirates here. You say one name that's sort of like a
Sort of
name
like-
from
Yeah.
Pirates.
Hooker for life.
Yes.
Yes, you guys are hookers. But I thought Miss Elizabeth Swan.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That
then
would've been
they
cool.
and then they give her the nickname Lizard, which is there a I don't know, maybe there is. Is there a character in Alice in Wonderland or Through the Looking Glass that is a lizard?
Not that I can think of.
And that
I mean,
whole
whatever happened to Lizzie as a nickname for
Well, they
Elizabeth.
did say
Lizard, one
Lizard.
badass.
They did say Lizzie for a split second. She's like, I go by Lizard.
Yeah, I mean,
Because she's a thief, and she has to have a weird
Lizard.
thief name.
Like,
Oh, God.
Lizard. What? That's just
No,
horrible.
yes.
It's a horrible
Lizard.
nickname for someone.
Here's my thing.
Wait,
You
there
have...
was a. Isn't there Bill the Lizard? Alice in Wonderland?
Who is Bill the Lizard?
I don't know. I thought there was like a Bill the Lizard person character from Alice in Wonderland.
If that is a thing, please let
But
us know.
Yeah.
Bill's a guy and she's a girl. Maybe they changed it up.
I just feel like if there are so many well-known characters from Alice in Wonderland, from Through the Looking Glass, from Disney in general that you could bring in, and most of the reason we watch this show is the fun of seeing beloved characters that we've known come to life, and in a new way. And this was kind of, for me, frustrating because first off, the actress is not good, but then second, it was like equally frustrating because you're like, I want to know who this character is. I want this character to be someone I like know, and it's not, and that's kind of disappointing.
But the fun thing that I like about when they bring in other characters is that we know the story of the ones we know already so well, and sometimes in our minds, if they were to do those characters and not do it the right justice, or, you know, just like how can you take a new spin on these characters that we already know so much about. So it's kind of fun when they have the ones that we know a lot about, like Alice, Jafar, you know, those people, the Knave, and then they filter in the people who we don't actually know, and it's kind of reintroducing them and bringing in a new sort of thing and making your mind work in different ways, because just because her name's Lizzie or Lizard, you know, it could be from something completely outside of Wonderland, and, you know, it could be a reference to an author's name or something. Like there's
Frankenstein was
Frankenstein was.
Will.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Will was like an homage to the director of the original Frankenstein movie. So I love how they kind of do it, but I do understand, you know, it's like, oh, but I don't know who it is, so it's kind of frustrating.
Okay, I looked it up. They said Bill the Lizard first appeared in Disney's 1951 Alice in Wonderland. He was the one with the ladder.
Yeah.
And he was asked by the dodo and the white rabbit to get rid of the monster inside the white rabbit's house. And he went up the chimney, and that was it.
And that was it of the Lizard. Did anybody else think that when Lizzie first appeared that she was Ellen Page? I was like, how did they get Ellen Page in this show?
And she's like, I'm pregnant, and
And she has her
My
hamburger
name's
phone.
Juno.
Yeah. She did look a little bit like Ellen
She
Page.
did.
They
Oh,
had
definitely.
some of the same manners, yeah.
Here's and okay, to what you're saying, yes, I agree with that. They brought in Amara. Amara's not a character we know, but to me, they did Amara correctly, whereas they bring in a character that first off is not easily recognizable and then is not easily linked to another character's past. So it just seemed kind of random.
But
and her link to Will to me is too loose, and then her and in the sense that we've already formed a sort of loyalty to, like, you've created a love triangle already with Will, and then you're throwing in an extra person to make it a love square, and it's like, I don't think he would have feelings for her, but she obviously has a crush on him, major time. So you're throwing in this extra character in there that you're like, okay, why did you just do that?
And then when I don't fully believe her story that she told Alice, because no one was there to either confirm nor deny it. So
Right.
I think that this character is bringing a little bit more mystery of, do we trust her or not? Because right now I don't trust her. And I think that when they did reunite Will with her, Will's reaction to her didn't seem like a friendship that, you know, he practically like raised. It wasn't like over the top, like, oh yeah, thanks for, you know, maybe there's more to the story. And so I think that them not giving us the information is just them setting it up for later, like next week or the week after, to really kind of unfold what her true intentions are. Because I mean, everything that they do in these shows, we all know, is so manipulated and worked out from the beginning. It's so calculated from the start. So I don't think they would introduce someone that's not going to really serve a good purpose in the end game.
I see that, but I also see that in Once, if they introduce a new character that you don't immediately recognize, it's always immediately directly linked to someone's backstory. So in once, every single situation I can think of where there's a character that is not a fairy tale character, their first interaction is directly with someone's backstory. So this to me was like a letdown in the sense of, okay, I know we're eventually going to find something out, but if you introduce a random character to me that I'm not even that fascinated by, like it would have been more interesting to have that character have some sort of link to something I already know.
But I think because they introduced her in this episode, we just saw the Knave get turned into stone. So Alice's partner is kind of out of the picture right now, and now that they introduce another person, she's going to be that partner, and she's going to be the counterpart, the sidekick.
There's too many girls in this show.
What?
Why?
No, why did you say that?
Okay, this is why. Because so the Knave is now gone. Cyrus is frickin' stuck in a cage. And then we have Jafar, who's just an evil asshole.
It does just kind of seem like
it's a
girl fight.
Yeah, it's like a major chick thing right now. And
even though it's not over the same boy, it's over a boy. When you break it down like that, it's like two girls fighting over a boy who's locked up.
It's like Sex in the City Wonderland. Like,
here's the thing: is like, have you heard of the Bledchel test? I'm not sure I'm saying that right. It's Blechel. I'm not Bledchel, maybe. I'm not pronouncing it right, but it's the way you tell if a story has like a feminist text is it has a certain number of women in it, and the women have to interact with each other, and then they have to talk about something other than a guy. So it's kind of sad, you're right, in this series where you have so many cool, strong women characters, and they're clearly trying to set it up that way, but then they're all talking about dudes.
That's all this whole thing is about, like, who I love this person, or I had a crush on this person, or I want power more than him, but it's all about him.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been, again, if they introduced this new character and the new character had some sort of, like, interesting personal quest where they were like, I have to find my grandfather's old watch because he died a long time ago.
No, that's eyeglasses.
I don't know. She was dressed kind of like the way she was dressed reminded me of Robin Hood's Merriman. So part of me was like, maybe her backstory comes from before they got to this land.
Good
so
point.
That
maybe
was like
she's
the
made
link
Marion.
that I had, that I found between them that might.
She's not made Marion because Robin Hood. We've
already met Marion. Yeah, we've already met Marion.
And it's called the Blackdale test.
Okay.
Blackdale.
Yeah. But that's interesting.
Yeah, it's sad to me because it's like you have all these really strong and cool female characters, and then they're all talking about dudes. But I do miss. I'm gonna be very upset if Will is prolonged Stone because he's the comic relief of the show. Mm-hmm. He's one of the best actors on the show, one of the most compelling characters. And I was already mad because I was like, I really like Amara and I clearly love Will, and now they're both pieces of whatever, and I'm so mad.
Stone and like gold or
Stone
metal.
And gold.
Amara was one person who was super she wasn't like all about men. She was.
But we also don't know what was her driving force, because every bad person has some sort of driving force that keeps them going, so we don't know what her driving force was. Maybe it was the Sultan as well, and that's why she was so willing to let Jafar come in to learn from her. Maybe the Sultan was her lover and then he dumped her or something.
Don't say that she's Jafar's mother, because then that's really messed up.
I'm not going that far. I'm saying like before. Maybe.
See, what I thought was interesting was when Amara came into the picture, right off the bat, everyone didn't look at her, which made me think,
maybe she's Medusa.
Oh. Yeah, people can't look at her.
And she's obsessed with snakes.
Yeah, and, Medusa's head is full of snakes. So I thought because...
And then Will got turned to stone by the snake thing.
Oh my God.
Did we just figure something out?
Snap, y'all.
You did. She's Medusa.
Yo, Adam Horowitz, call us up and let us know if we're right
now.
Did we just solve this?
AfterBuzz exclusive. Press the button.
Okay.
AfterBuzz TV exclusive.
Yes.
Marisa Serafini just blew my mind.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Just blew my mind. So let's
wait. Before we get into news and gossip, can we talk about
that's what I was gonna do.
Cyrus? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were gonna go.
Yeah, no. I was gonna talk about Cyrus because short on time, and Cyrus gets this wishbone, and he whittles it down, and then the creepy guard not creepy, just like schleppy ogre schleppy ogre guard gets him to drop it, and then he pulls up the other wishbone, because wishbones always want to be together, and gets it back, and maybe is going to pick the lock in the next episode.
He starts
he cuts the floor. That's right. He cuts a circle.
I mean, because Cyrus still, does he have, because the cage is made out of silver, so that's blocking his powers. But once he, like, if he were to take out the bottom of the cage, could he, like, drop down and start floating and, like, escape through a window?
Probably. And I want to know who that other dude is, because they keep...
Clearly he's someone.
Maybe he's a sultan.
Oh.
Maybe he is.
That's my prediction.
That's a good prediction.
He's a sultan.
Yeah.
That actually
Because they
makes the
keep
most
having
sense.
sort of, like, eye conversations. Not actual conversations, just very eyeball conversations that we can't be a part of.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what that is there. Any last thoughts?
I loved the wishbone story.
That
Just
was
the
cute.
explanation of it,
Yeah.
and how, like, you know, you never think of wishbones, but just how, like, you know, everyone thinks, you know, you get the bigger half, you win, but actually, like, they're always meant to be together, and genies use it as a trick. I love when they kind of tell, like, a new story like that like, really makes sense and flows with the story, and it's kind of a fun little superstition.
It was cute. And it was cute because he said that genies created the myth that you can get wishes from them.
Yeah.
And then the wishbones really want to be together. I like that. I like that little story. You're right. Any last thoughts before we go into predictions? I don't have news and gossip either.
This was awesome.
Yeah.
Episode. I really did enjoy this. This was probably my favorite episode. I mean, we've only had 4.
Well, because
but
the
the
plot
show's
moves
getting
so much in one
The show's
episode.
really getting better. It's coming along.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
Which makes me happy, because in all, like, the blogs, I don't know if you guys have seen all the, like, you know, what shows will get renewed come May.
Yeah.
This one, there's not a very good chance right now, or so people are saying, but I have faith that if we keep getting episodes like this.
Here's the other thing too, and I don't know like how close they film the episodes, if they have the ability to go back and edit, but they're clearly, like, people were not responding to the way Jafar looked in general in the first episode. They did some edits. They clearly did edits to the Queen's costumes, because they're much better now. And I think, and they did edits to the CGI. So I think people who write, they respond to what the fans really like. There have been numerous cases in shows in the past where fans love the characters so much they just don't get rid of them.
Or they love characters so much that they bring them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if
Exactly.
they kill them off.
Yeah.
And if characters,
Or if
and
they've
here's the
written them
thing,
off,
and
they
here's the thing,
find
it's
a way
like
to
if
bring 'em back.
characters don't work, there's some people that would film, like, they would think about a big arc for a character that sometimes just doesn't work for an audience, and then they use that character less. So I have faith that, you know, they're doing what they can to keep the show on the air.
Yeah.
So you just want to jump right into predictions?
Yeah, predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Who's starting?
Well, I think Amara is Medusa.
Yes.
Marisa, best prediction ever. I've got nothing. I got nothing.
I want Cyrus to escape. This
Yes.
isn't really like a prediction. It's more like a wish list.
Yeah.
AfterBuzz TV wish list.
Yeah, I wish Cyrus will escape and maybe take the guy who we're gonna say is the Sultan with him, and them be on the run. But then, of course, Alice won't know that he's escaped, so they're not gonna be together quite yet.
Yes.
But you know, at least they're not trapped in cages anymore. So that is
think-
my prediction wish list.
I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I think, as I said, I think the other man in the cage is a sultan, and I think if Cyrus escapes, he will bring him with him, because he has his genie powers, and I think in returning him to, he will return him to Agrabah, because he's a nice guy, and I think he's gonna meet Jasmine then, and I think Jasmine might start another little love triangle, because I think she might fall for Cyrus for saving her father. And might piss off Aladdin. I don't know. I like that.
Interesting.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening.
It's a long one.
Where can they find you, Tiona?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the Tiona Hobson.
And you can find me on Twitter at KeetinM33 and on Instagram at Keetin33.
And you
Marisa?
can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV.
I'm at 123Jackie_B on Twitter, at 123JackieB, all one word on Instagram. Join the conversation, tweet us back, and I try to respond to as many messages as I can on YouTube and iTunes.
Yeah, I love the comments. So
Great
good.
comments, you
So
guys.
I just
want
to give a shout out to Emma Rigby because I love her and I know there's a big controversy last week about it. I love her big lips, but they are really big.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz
you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.